Okay, this video is a continuance. Is that a word? Continuance. It's a continuing of the last video, twin flame separation from the masculine perspective. And in this video, I'm going to share our second twin flame separation story. This one is more intense than the last one. In the last video, if you missed it, go ahead and watch that one. It is the story of our first major twin flame separation beyond our 6 mini twin flame separations. And that is also a fascinating story, and I shared a lot of my tips on how I dealt with it and how I really stayed in a high vibration state so that I could attract the best outcome, which was Amanda and I getting back together. So in our second twin flame separation story, man, this one was even more intense. So at this point, we had been in a committed relationship for 3 years. We were diving super deep with each other. We're living together. We're doing business together. We're working from home together. We're having business meetings together. We're doing everything together, eating together. We basically don't really have that many friends together because we were spending so much time together. It was ridiculous. So we were getting just so intertwined and just almost like tangled up, and at this point we got stuck because we were just so intertwined. And me personally, I had lost a sense of myself. I put so much energy into Amanda and our business, and didn't have as many friends anymore. So at this time, major codependency was playing out between Amanda and I. Lots of family karma and negative patterns were coming up that we had learned from our parents. And so from my perspective, the masculine perspective, anger was coming out towards the feminine. This was something that was definitely between my father and my mother, and then my grandfather and his wife, and then beyond. And then in Amanda's side, she was going into the overgiving, losing a sense of herself, going into the victim, things like that. And we were just totally stuck in these patterns with almost no way out. And we really lost sexual polarity in our relationship because we were so intertwined that there wasn't that push-pull anymore. It was just ugh. And we're just kind of roommates. So at this time, both of us were starting to reach out to friends and family. Amanda was in a woman's circle, which was really supportive. I was in a year-long men's leadership training, and so I was getting a lot of support and feedback from the men in that group. And then we were also calling up our parents and getting support from them. Yet to our surprise, we realized that every time we looked for support outside of ourselves, yes, we did need the support. And then also, yes, the people who had really strong opinions about our relationship, which were often that we should break up, because most people can't really understand or comprehend the twin flame relationship, and they assume that it's just not a good relationship or that it's immature because they don't really believe that true love is possible. That many of these people told us to break up. And so at the time, that was very confusing. Each of us individually were getting pushed and pulled by these different people that we were talking to. Yet at the end of the day, it was our choice. It was our choice as a sovereign being, as an individual of our own life and our own soul. So once again, as the masculine partner, I led and I communicated with Amanda that I needed time off, that I needed to do some soul searching and figure out what I need, because at that time I was not happy. And so you consider me the runner, because I was the one that left, because that's what I needed to do. And so when I was away, I did some really deep soul searching, and I cried my ass off. And I am a type of guy, you can ask Amanda, you can ask my family, I don't cry. I barely ever cry. And at this time, I would wake up in the middle of the night just like bawling. So this was just like a really intense emotional time for me. Luckily, like I said, I got support. I signed up for this year-long men's leadership training because I admitted to myself, I admitted that I was struggling and that I could use some outside support, that I just alone, just me, I couldn't do this all by myself. This relationship, this love was so intense, and there's so many things that I was working through. Yes, I was aware that anger was coming up, that wasn't necessarily the most positive thing, and so I wanted to work on these things, and I knew that, well, I didn't know, but I just knew that I wanted to work on these parts of myself. I wanted to become a better man, because whether I do leave Amanda for good or I stay with Amanda, I need to work on these issues. Otherwise, who the heck is gonna wanna be with me long term? And now I'm so glad that I was getting support at this time, because thinking about doing this alone is just like, there's no way on earth that I could have figured all this out and handled this just on my own by myself. I probably would not be with Amanda because it was just so intense. There's so much like ancestral karma coming up and just these deep, deep, deep emotional wounds and triggers, the deepest of the deepest. And I knew that I wanted to come out the other side. I wanted to face my deepest fears. I wanted to face my biggest demons and come out integrated and whole. And there was times for sure I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if I would ever get through this time. And so if you are struggling in twin flame separation, be honest with yourself. Is it really the smartest thing to do this alone? Or is it actually the most truthful thing for you to seek and receive support? For you to get support from a loving person, a mentor, someone who knows about the twin flame relationship, knows how to handle it, someone who understands it to support you in this process. I think if you do some soul searching, the answer is yes. And I'm telling you from experience, getting support is the best thing, especially when you're going through your deepest wounds, your deepest triggers, you're facing your own demons. Getting that support can be the most crucial thing. So whether you get support with Amanda and I, or another twin flame couple, or a spiritual guide, someone you feel like you can really trust on a deep, deep level, get support from them. So after I did the deepest soul searching on my own, getting support from the men in this group that I was getting support from, I actually was not certain, without a shadow of a doubt, of what would happen long term in my relationship with Amanda at this time, because there was so much wounds and hurt and pain and resentments, yes, that were coming up. And there was just a buildup of so many negative patterns between us that it wasn't just up to me, that Amanda would have to be on board with this as well to fully, like really seriously work on this as individuals. And so once again, as the masculine, I led the next steps of our relationship. And I remember coming back to Amanda after being apart for a long time, walking up to her door and just having so many like feelings and thoughts, and just really having no idea how she was going to react seeing me again. No idea necessarily how things were going to work out between us. But what I did know was that what I had control over, and so that was myself and my decisions and how I lead our relationship. And so when I walked in that door, I saw Amanda, and we just like hugged again. It felt strange. I felt like there was like some wounds from our separation, and so we had some work to do. So I sat Amanda down and I asked her if she would be open to doing a relationship practice with me, and it's called the Imago Dialogue, and doing that with me every day for 2 months. And then by the end of that 2-month period, then we would decide if we were going to stay together or not. And now this Imago Dialogue practice is a simple 10-minute exercise that we would do. We'd sit down together, we'd look each other in the eyes, and one person would share whatever resentments are coming up from their point of view, and then the other person would just listen and repeat back word for word what that person says. And so we would do that each for about 5 minutes every single day. And the rule is that we cannot backtalk, we can't make the other person wrong, we can't cut the other person off. We have to just listen when they're talking and just only repeat back what they're saying, and absolutely no reactions. And so through this practice, we were able to layer by layer understand each other that much more deeply. And what I learned about myself and what I learned about Amanda is that a lot of the negative patterns in our relationship were due to misunderstandings and miscommunications. And because we didn't understand each other, that's where the fear and the negative patterns thrived. And yet those patterns were just that, they were just patterns. And they really weren't real. They were illusions. They were patterns in our lineage on a genetic level, most likely. And once we uncovered the truth and got down to the core of what each of us as individuals were actually experiencing beyond the patterns, underneath the patterns, then we got to understand each other and understand once again that we love each other so much, and that we do want to continue being with each other, and that we are willing to do whatever it takes. And so in those 2 months, we changed so much as individuals and as a couple, and we returned to our divine wholeness as individuals, and we respected one another, we understood one another, and we rekindled our deep soul connection. And so in the next video, I'm gonna share with you about our twin flame reunion and getting married to one another after this grueling 2 major twin flame separations. And so I look forward to seeing you on that next video, and I will talk to you soon.